Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the schedule in the tribal areas, right? This is the topic on which we have been discussing. And basically within this particular series of the schedule in the tribal areas, all of these are the topics we have scheduled for the discussion, like the introduction part, like the scheduled areas in India and overview of it, like the criteria for identification of scheduled areas, the constitutional provisions and the governance, okay, the concerns that are related to the scheduled areas, the administration of the scheduled areas, the scheduled tribes, general concerns of the tribal community, addressing the challenges, significance of the indigenous communities, problems being faced by the tribal groups, conclusion, administration of the tribal areas. Okay, so these are the topics we have scheduled for the discussion. If we talk about the topic we have covered so far, so we have done with the introduction part, we have done with the scheduled areas in India and overview of it, we have done with the criteria for the identification of scheduled areas, we have done with the constitutional provisions and the governance, and then we have done with the concerns related to the scheduled areas, we have done with the administration of scheduled areas, we have done with the scheduled tribes and the general concerns of the tribal community. Okay, so these are the topics that we have covered so far. If we talk about the topic on which we have been discussing right now, then this is the addressing the challenges. Okay, this is the topic on which we are discussing. If we talk about the topic we are left with, these are the significance of the indigenous communities, problems being faced by the tribal groups, conclusion, and the administration of the tribal areas. Okay, so this is the picture that we have created so far. All right, I hope you have revised the previous one before you have come for this lecture. Let us already see what we have covered in the previous one. Like in the previous one, when we were discussing the addressing the challenges that are being faced by the schedule and the tribals. Okay, so basically in this series we had discussed the conservation efforts, right? This is what we had discussed, and basically we discussed implementing the conservation practices that involve and benefits the indigenous communities. Okay, and how we could do it by the community managed forest, like we had discussed. Basically managing the forest is not a concern of those who are living in the mainstream or the urban areas. Why? Because they are not having the relevancy with the forest for their survival. Okay, however, most of you will question that oxygen we are getting from the trees, okay, for food we are getting from the trees, medicines we are getting from the trees, all of these are basically found in the forest. So why I'm saying that they do not have any relevancy with the forest? Why? Because we are not directly living in the forest. Okay, that's why in the mainstream we do not care about the forest as much as the tribals caring about. Why? Because they are the one who lives in the forest. Okay, that is the reason why they are the best to put the conservation efforts forward. Okay, thereafter the participatory approaches. Okay, it means that we must include the indigenous communities when we talk about the biodiversity conservation. Why? Because they are the one who are most affected with the depletion of biodiversity. Okay, this is what we had discussed. After this, basically we have also discussed the cultural preservation, right? In which we discuss that we must support the initiatives that are required for preserving and promoting. Two words are there: preserving and promoting the cultural heritage of the indigenous communities, involves the integrating indigenous knowledge into the education systems that we have in the country, and promoting the cultural events and the practice. Okay, like here I have told you, when we talk about the education in India, then mostly education institute, if we found in the country, these all are English medium. Okay, why? Because we emphasize on English the most. Okay, if not English, then any regional or the Hindi language. Got it? But that is not in the language of the tribals. Why? Because tribals speak these languages mostly, the languages which are not in the mainstream. Thereafter, if we move forward in the addressing the challenges, then we will have the healthcare and the education. This is the new one that we are going to start. Okay. But before this, let me ask you one simple question. Recently, we know in India, we have the elections, right? In India, we have the elections. The question that I'm going to ask you is also relevant with the tribals. Okay. And what is the question? Which tribe of India was the one that voted for the first time in Indian elections? Again, I'm repeating, which tribe of India was the one that voted for the first time in election? Or you can say which tribe voted for the first time in elections? To answer this question, you will have 30 seconds to think and answer. Then I will give you the answer. And your time starts now. Please do not Google it. Okay. This question is not only relevant with the topic, also relevant with the general knowledge. 10 seconds have been passed. Last 20s are remaining. Okay. Last 10 seconds are there. The time is going up. Think faster. Last few seconds. The time is going to be up. All right. And the time's up. So the correct answer of this is Champagne. Champagne was the tribe of the Andaman Nicobar Islands. Okay. And that became the first tribe that voted for the general elections for the first time. Okay. Spelling is Shompen. I'm repeating, Shompen. Champagne. Okay. Again, the another question that I will ask you is the same. All right. Which part of the country, or you can say which city or district of the country was the first that voted for the first time? Or I'm just modifying the question. Which city or district of the country voted for the first time in general elections? To answer this question, again, you will have 30 seconds to think and answer. Then I will give you the answer. And your time starts now. Ten seconds have been passed. Last 20s are remaining. Think faster. The time is going to be up. Last 10 seconds are there. Just think about it. It is also the current affair question. Okay. Last few seconds are there. The time is going to be up. All right. The time's up. The correct answer of this is the Bastar. Bastar lies as in the Chhattisgarh state of India. Okay. And that is the highly insurgent or Naxal affected area. Okay. For the first time, few villages of it voted for general elections. Okay. So that was the thing. Got it? If we talk about the Naxalite movement, the Naxalite movement is also, you can say, somewhat connected with the tribals. And how and why? Basically, let me tell you in a short and sweet. It was a time of nearly 1964-67. I'm not aware about the correct year. There is a village in West Bengal, Naxalbari. Okay. What was the name of the village? Naxalbari. Okay. The tribals already had been exploited a lot during the British Raj or during the British rule. Okay. And when the India got independence, the tribals were very, very aspired for getting their rights right now. Okay. But what happened? After the independence, for many years, the tribals got neglected. Okay. Why? Because the government had the responsibility to push forward the mainstream first, then focusing on the tribals. And the tribals assumed that they would not be benefited ever in this country. Okay. And then they started for their rights a fight. Okay. Or you can say they started a fighting for their rights. In the beginning or in the initial time, the fight was just only for the civic rights and all. Or you can say they were protesting, all right, and they were demanding for their rights and all. But later on, with the passage of time, they picked up the weapons. Okay. And various tribal groups formed are little militant groups. Got it? Like the ULFA, ULPA, like the NSCL, all right, like the Indian Maoist, and other. And basically, they have the communist approach. What do you mean by the communist approach? It means there should no private ownership. All the things would be reserved by the government, and the government will equally distribute it amongst the members. All right. And they had the communist approach. And since then, till now, the Naxalite is one of the major issues when we talk about the internal security of this country. Why? Because they attack various government institutes, they affect various government, you can say the officials and all, and basically even they hunt down many people of on their tribes and of all their local area where they are living in. Okay, in you can say doubt of getting connection with the government, or you can say whenever they got any doubt regarding someone and they thought that the person may be relevant with the security forces or the government, then basically the Naxalites kill him or his family also. Okay. And even the situation was worse. Even in the 2006, the Prime Minister of India declared that the Naxalites is the major issue in the India and it is the biggest threat to the India's security. Or he said, not even the external threat we are facing is that much bigger that we have within the country. And you can say relevance of it, various things happen over the period of time. Okay, the government started various civic programs and various other kind of justice programs to bring the tribals into the mainstream and to readdress their issues. Even the military actions have been taken time to time. Like there is a force in India that is known as the CRPF, Central Reserve Police Force. Okay, it is one of the biggest forces of the India. And CRPF, along with its unit that we call Cobra, stands for the Commando Battalion for Resolute Action. They had launched various multiple operations on the insurgents or the Naxalites groups to bring out the tribal areas out of there. Okay, why? Because the Naxalites groups adopted an policy not benefited with the tribals, or you can say do not let the tribals to get benefit of the government schemes. Why? Because so that they could prove that the government is not thinking about that. And even the condition was that much or that must of birch. Like you can say, if any tribal family got sick, okay, and not feeling well, and then they move to the government hospital or any government initiative, then what will happen? The Naxalite will kill whole his family. Okay, now you could imagine how bad is the situation. So it was the first time when the Naxalite affected area, the Bastar, experienced the general election, and it was one of the major achievements. Okay, now come back to the healthcare and the education topic. Okay, like we know, the condition of the quality healthcare and the education in the tribal area is worst. Or not only the condition is worst, but also it is hard to get access to these things. Why? Because if we look at the locations of the tribal areas that we have in the country, what you will find that these areas are within the extreme remote areas, like the dense forest is, like the you can say harsh topography and all. Okay, because of this, first it is hard to reach the place and provide the medical facilities. That was the first thing. Second was that even if somehow the infrastructure built, then that would have the shortage of equipments, medical staff, and other primary medical things. Okay, like you can say, generally, when we talk about the medical staff, so medical staff and providing the Medicare is one of the major issue with the tribals. How? First, you can say the medical staff do not want to work there. Why? Because as I have told you, the Naxalite areas are highly remoted areas. Okay. So generally the staffs and all which requires to go there and provide the medical care and the medical facilities, they denied for it. Okay. They do not want to go in such area and provide the medical facilities and all. And even if they get agree, okay, then they demand a, you can say, luxurious salary, okay, so that they would go and work there. And this salary is oftenly lies out of the limit of the government. Why? Because the government having the limited budget. The government could not fulfill that much of demand. So because of this, various medical professionals are not there. And even if the medical professionals are there, they often find, you can say, helpless when they have to deal with the tribals. Why? Because first, the shortage of equipments and medicines. Due to the remote areas, basically the supply of medicine and the equipments could not be ensured that easily. Okay. And second is the communication gap. Like generally, the professionals or the medical staff, they speak English, Hindi, or any regional language. Okay. Because they are from the mainstream. But the tribals speak the different language that is not known to them. Okay. So now you can take an example. You could imagine the situation. Suppose there is a doctor who belongs to the Tamil Nadu state. He speaks Tamil language. Okay. Then he got posted in the West Bengal region or in the Odisha region where the tribal speaks Mathili language. So the doctor is spoken in two languages. You can say the English language and the Tamil language. But the tribals who are coming to him for the Medicare and all, they are speaking in Mathili language. How the doctor will help them if he's not even understanding their language? Okay, so that was the problem. Second problem was the traditional practices. Like it is found more oftenly, the tribals who are living in the forest and all, they avoid going for the modern medical facilities. Okay, instead of this, they prefer to get cured themselves through their traditional methods. Okay, and basically traditional methods are workable for the diseases that they have been practicing for a long time. Okay, but the diseases that they have got from the outer world, like the chichak and the chikungunya, I have given you the example. Basically, these diseases are new to them. Okay, they do not have the cure for these diseases. That's why the traditional practices they often do for curing themselves, these are not workable. And because of this, many tribals lost their lives. Okay, so that was regarding the quality healthcare. And if we talk about the education, the scenario is same. Okay, like it is hard to reach the remote areas in which they are living in. So first, the problem that comes here is the problem of the infrastructure. How to reach the area, then build the infrastructure and all. Okay. Second, if even the school infrastructure has been built over there, the second problem comes from the staff. Okay. Like the quality teachers, like the quality staff do not want to go to the tribal areas, the remote areas and work there. Okay. Even same like the healthcare, if they get agree, okay, that we will go there, still they demand a high and the luxurious or you can say lucrative salary. Okay, that is lies out of the budget of the government and government often fails to do it. The third problem is states number of enrollment. Why? Because many tribals avoid the education. Why? Because they are not aware about the importance of it. Secondly, because the education is not available in their own language. Okay, like as I have told you, the education in India generally is a English medium, Hindi medium, or any regional language medium. But it is not in the medium of the language that speaks by the tribals. If the tribal is speaking the Mathli language and the teachers who are teaching in the schools, they speak English or the Hindi or any regional language, then the tribal children will not get any help from them. Okay. So these are the issues that are related with the education. Okay. And like we know, these issues including the building healthcare infrastructure, training healthcare professionals, ensuring the education systems are inclusive and culturally sensitive. Like you can say inclusive means that we are not only required to build the education institute, but we also required to ensure that the tribal students getting admission into this. Okay. Then only that will be an inclusive. Culturally sensitive means like mostly in India, we focus on the Western education. Okay. And this Western education basically will pull the students, the tribal students, into the mainstream that we are having in the country. But that is again goes against the provisions that we have. Like we want the tribals to get uplifted and indulge into the mainstream, but we do not want them to lose their cultural identity which they have. Okay. Because that will be against our basic principles of conserving the tribals and all. Got it? After this, the last thing that we have addressing the challenges was the empowerment and the participation. Okay. Like you can say, basically, if we only focus on giving the cover to the tribals, okay, and protecting them by ourselves, basically that will not so much helpful for them. Why? What is the reason? Because we must ensure that the tribals are helping themselves. They are uplifting themselves by their own, because that will ensure the long-term things. Okay. So you can say empowering the indigenous communities to participate in the decision-making process. Okay. That affects their life. And this could involve strengthening the local governance structures. Like we know in India, when we talk about the local governance, okay, so generally we focus on the Panchayati Raj system or Panchayati Raj institutions. Why? Because that is the most effective, you can say, machinery of the government that works on the ground level. Now, most of you will argue like the municipalities are also there, but please remember the municipalities are for urban areas mainly. But the Panchayat is also for the urban or the semi-urban areas, right? Not sorry, urban, rural or the semi-urban areas. Okay. And when we talk about the tribals, then we know in India, we have the PASA Act provisions, or you can say Panchayat extension to the scheduled areas. Okay. So basically through PASA Act, we could strengthening the Gram Sabha that is working at the village level. Okay. So that it could uplift the tribals from the ground. Okay. And the outer forces were not so much picketizing for improving their conditions. And also, we must represent the presentation of the tribal members in the policy making bodies. Why? Because whatever policies we are making for the tribals and all, we are making it on the basis of the information or the input that we have with ourselves. We are not making it in accordance with the needs of the tribals. Why? Because we are not living with them. We are not living on the ground with them. That's why we are not aware about this thing. But the tribal members who are within the tribes, they are well aware about these things. So they could help the tribals more in comparison with the others. Okay. That was a thing. So students, basically in this lecture, we have finished till here. In the next lecture, we will continue from here. Till then, just revise the facts and figures we have discussed in this lecture. Be ready for the next lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture. And what we say thank you.